Committee meeting this Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Roll call, Mr. Putnam, Patrick and Ellen, Mr. Kisco, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, committee members, and everybody else you have down there, right? Good. All right, let's make a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Let's make a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? One abstention.
Yep.
2 ayes. All right. Motion passes. Public participation. Josh, is anybody on the public line?
No, there's not.
Before it goes, section number 5. Get right into it with Rachel.
Hello. So social media update. I included everything in the packet. Some highlights I'd like to point out. Torrington Middle School did an awesome job with their drone footage. Thank you, Josh, of the TMS out on the field. It was 8th graders, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that came out super awesome.
Great.
So thank you to Josh for that as well. And then some other highlights. You may have noticed that Forbes and Vogel Wetmore school websites are now live. I hope to have the other 2 done before our next meeting, so it'll be in the next packet. And then we'll officially all be moved over to the new website platform.
Which schools are pending?
Torringford and Southwest. And that's about it for social media. Does anybody have any questions? Oops. You want me to move on, or you have to?
No. Oh,
Do your
charge on.
Okay.
Take charge.
So next you'll see a breakdown about the protection plan. So you can see the total damages per school, damages with and without protection, how many of the students who had the protection plan utilized it for more than 2 damages, and what the total billable amount was that went out to students and their families. I also gave a little chart going over what type of breakages are, currently seen. Screens is always our top breakage. Just kind of the nature of it being a fragile piece of the equipment. But overall, better than last year still for the middle school, and the high school's relatively close. So are there any?
I had a quick question. Last year we saw the trend at TMS on the Chromebooks was strictly driven by chargers. I mean, it was like 7 to 1 of any other repair.
Mhm.
This year it looks like it's the opposite way. We're having a lot of screen replacements. Do you attribute that? I mean, we didn't have, this is from my memory, we didn't have anywhere near 300 screen replacements last year. Do you see, is it a behavioral change? What's causing the significant amount of damage to screens? And it was an odd, it's a lot of money, $10,000. Is that only what people got billed who didn't have the insurance, or is that the total cost of damages, including somebody who would have insurance?
That's those who did not have insurance. So And that's not to say that all of those damages were screens. It could have been some that were needed to be completely replaced. So that's, I think $300.
Okay.
So things like that. I'm just saying that screens was still a bulk out of all of our damages district-wide. So yeah, the only thing I can say on the charger end is last year I did implement some cases that have a charger pocket. So I'm hoping that helped, like, charger comes off your computer, it goes right in the pocket that's attached to your case. So that's something that my son has at his school, and he's managed to keep a hold of his charger, so I wanted to mirror it in ours, and it's something that I look to do in the high school as well, providing some sort of case that, the charger goes right in the pocket. I think that also we've held pretty firm about giving out loaner chargers this year. We typically don't, or we only have a set amount that we will loan out for, certain cases. So, with that being said, they know they're not going to get one, so they hang on to theirs or they replace it themselves, one or the other.
Last question is the battery. So battery, are we including, like, if the battery just doesn't work anymore? Like, what qualifies a battery for the insurance plan?
So on a Chromebook, we can do a battery test that will show us like the life, it estimates the life of the battery, just like it kind of does on your phone. We typically don't charge for that because it's a wear and tear kind of thing. But if it's a liquid damage sort of situation, then that becomes a different story.
Thrown against a wall or whatever the reason may be. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep. And as you can see, cost is significant. It's double at the high school due to, the cost of these devices that we have there. It is something that I would like to bring to the board's attention. I did put in my capital plan to replace these devices because they will be out of warranty next year. And, as we can see, that's what it would have been costing us if we did not have, warranty on these devices. It's $360 per screen. So that's not counting the damages with the protection plan, 127. So, say all of those were screens, that's, 127 times 360 that we would have to, take on the cost of. And with capital plans, history shows me that I typically don't get much for capital. And when I did propose it, it was, about $1.5 million to refresh these devices. So I would like to present to the board some options about, maybe something more sustainable for our district.
Sounds good.
If you're all open to hearing it.
At a later date, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
not tonight.
put everything together. I'm currently in contact with some companies, getting some numbers together, just trying to present all of the research that I can and what our options are about what we need to do to move forward to be financially responsible.
Helen?
My question is about collections. Are we doing better than last year?
I haven't collected yet.
Okay.
Or you mean money collection?
Yes.
We're doing okay. So we implemented a new billing system. It's all going through Stripe. And it seems to be doing pretty well, better than previous years.
Okay,
For
great.
sure.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought you meant device collection. I was like,
Can't collect those just
That's
yet.
June's problem.
yeah.
So I just have one quick one.
Sure.
So total cost of damages higher than a high school with less total number of damages. Does that directly contributed to the cost of the screens of the MacBooks versus Chromebooks?
Correct, because a Chromebook screen is, if it's the non-touch version, it's $30, I want to say. MacBook is $360.
Yeah.
So right there, I mean, and then if you need a full replacement on a Chromebook, that's $300. If you need a full replacement on a MacBook, that's $800.
Okay.
And you know, as you can imagine, sending that kind of bill home does not go over well.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Kiska?
And do we have any idea what, if any, impact there will be from tariff disruptions till they settle back down again?
yes, my vendors have been frantically reaching out to me, asking me to place orders immediately because they are receiving price locks and things of that sort from certain vendors, to the point where, you know, he gave me a quote one day and the next day he said, sorry, it's unavailable now. So decisions will need to be made relatively soon, and with some haste. But, you know, I want to make sure that I'm giving you all of the research that I've done behind it for that decision.
The tariff impact will be less on a Chromebook than it would be on a Mac. And that $800 you mentioned
Well,
is also
absolutely.
probably not including the Apple Care that you were getting on them. So really, a broken machine ends up costing over $1,000, right?
Well, yes, and also, you know, at this point, they're gonna stop making the model that we currently have in our schools. And so, you know, before we were paying about $800 per device with about $200 with the protection that lasts us all 4 years. Now it's gonna be $1,000 as a baseline device price plus the protection. So now you're looking, instead of $1,000 device, you're looking at a $1,200 device. Then you add on top of it whatever these tariffs are going to do to those prices. So we could be looking at a $1,500 device. So yeah, just not numbers that we want to see when we have to, you know, replace a fleet of 1,200 devices next year.
Any other questions? Other Rachel section.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Excellent. We'll jump right into facilities. Mr. Bergola?
Hello, everybody. I included some current projects that we're working on, along with a little of capital possibilities coming up. So these are some things we're doing at Southwest School. We just repaired a new ramp for the outdoor shed. It was pretty beat up, so it wasn't new. It was a replacement of it. We also had an issue a couple weeks ago when we had that heavy rainstorm. The roof flooded, caused quite a bit of water inside of the school. Come to find out, it was a storm drain outside that we're waiting for a contractor to come in. We made arrangements now where it's not going to happen again, but we have to do some digging out there. We have a storm line that is collapsed, so all the water that was coming down is hitting the wall, and then just filling back up and overflowing the roof and leaking in all these different places. But we have temporary fix for that, but we are looking to complete that in the next week or so. You know, some basic door operations. You got those mechanical doors that you move in and out of, panic doors, and they go up to an electric strike. You know, the building is getting a little bit older, so we had to replace a couple of those. They weren't working properly. Vogel Wetmore, we have some appropriate hardware for the Thrive rooms that we're installing. We did have a bathroom floor that came up beautiful, that staff bathroom, that the floor was damaged quite a bit from a leak, plumbing leak, it looked like, for years. And so we ended up repairing that and replacing it. Seems like I'm talking about leaks here. Torrington, we had a sprinkler leak over there in the system. It's a dry system, and the compressor actually went, thus causing the system to activate, thus putting water through the pipe, and come to find out the pipe had leaks in it. So that was quite a bit of a leak we had. That's why we didn't have our meeting there last last meeting. The full board meeting was gonna move, right? And that was the reason why. So we repaired it. We're still waiting to let it dry out a little bit. It's fully dry, but we have to replace some insulation, put some ceiling tiles back. TMS, we're getting some prices on some bathroom partition doors, some touchless faucets, some other possibilities to kind of get that ready for our new students that are coming in next year. Hopefully we get this stuff done during the summertime. We'll put some stuff together there. At THS, we ended up installing purchase and install a new batting cage in the new middle school gym, which allows our athletes to, when it's raining out, which they've had a pretty good year so far, believe it or not, but they can go inside the gymnasium and get some hitting in, some pitching also. It's in our old high school gym, there was a very high-tech batting cage that we're moving over to the new high school. Well, this is an additional, so not quite as sophisticated. You put it up and it comes down the same night. It's very easy to put up and come down. The custodians went over it with both teams and they've used it a couple times so far, so that's been successful installation. Some of the capital projects that we're looking at, again, the TMS was some capital stuff we want to do too, but I guess I'm throwing that term around capital a little bit. At Forbes, with the redistricting, we're looking to change some heights of those canals. I gave a couple of you guys a tour last time we were in there. We kind of went over a few of the things, what we were looking at. Put some drinking fountain bottle fillers in certain areas. To some of the partitions in those rooms where we're going to be occupying, they're right in the middle of the room. Not quite sure the reasoning why they did this, but not a good design. So, we got things like that we have to take care of. Again, a lot of this stuff will be summertime before we open school. So, we're also tomorrow, and I didn't put it on here, but I'm going over there with the contractor. This will be the third contractor that I get going over there for a grant that we have for cameras, for Forbes School to install cameras that we want to move forward with, which brings us in line with the tariff thing that comes along the side of it. That's kind of, we're going to see, who knows what we're going to see with that, but we do have a grant money for it and we'll see what we can do with the money and install as many as we can. TMS retro system is going well. We're meeting Siemens out there April vacation to go over the whole details of what they've installed so far and also the whole BMS system, just to kind of narrow it down and start to dig in and see this stuff in operation. So I got a meeting set up in that week. Roof is moving forward, a TMS roof. We are almost ready to go out to bid, which should be, I don't know, what did they say?
April 20th, we'll find out about our confirmation from the state.
Yes, we're waiting on some of that legwork to still get done, but a little bit behind, but nothing, for a 2-year project, it's not going to be that big of effect.
Roof. Projects update, contracts. Mention contracts.
So,
Contracts, basically, I think what we had this on here for was, with the new school, we're looking to make sure that any of our existing contracts
yes,
are rebid,
Yes.
canceled, adjusted
Yes.
appropriately due to less square footage, and or with the new building, any of our contracts that may cover stuff in the old building, make sure that they are canceled with appropriate notice, because everything in that new school should be covered from the date of substantial completion, which I believe was early January. So make sure we're not paying contracts for a building that's being torn down.
so we have gone through that daily. And actually, we're having some readjustments, like you said. Bleacher inspection, for instance, we have bleacher inspection coming up on all the other schools except the new Torrington High School or the middle school because it's still under warranty. So we've made adjustments to contracts on that. We made adjustments to our security, to different security company now, so we canceled through that. We've been, of course, power and all that. We just, Eversource just cut off power to the meter that went over. We weren't really using electricity, but because of the construction process, the meter removal just happened. And it was an underground service that they brought in. Some of the adjustments that we're making is Jesperson, our lawn and care guy, is he gave me a number on reducing the cost because of the less scope of work. And we still want to go out there because I want to. I didn't finalize it yet with him because I want to go out there and walk the site with him just to see exactly what we're going on. He is in the Bahamas right now. I think he'll be back next week. So we get that scheduled to look at that. That's probably the big one, along with our snow removal, which again, we've added it. We added a little bit this year, but next season, once the project is a little bit more developed, we can, walk that site and see exactly what has to happen there. It gets a little, it's not as simple as just removing the snow. It's like, where does it have to go and what happens when that gets overloaded? And so there's a lot of that goes into it. And you can look at a blueprint, but until you kind of walk the site and you can see what is there, what your obstacles are, so you can get a truer reading of it.
A lot of obstacles in the new parking lot, from what I understand.
Not conducive to a snowplow.
There any, with that said, is there any like a significant savings from redoing any of these contracts other than the?
A little bit this year, with Jesperson. There's a little bit there, but there's a little bit added scope too. So now all of a sudden, our fence line along the highway is part of, right in our view, where some cleanup is going to be done there also, just to get it so it looks, a little bit better. You never paid attention to it when it was.
A lot of empty bottles down along that fence.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, a lot of that stuff when we walk through.
Probably from the 70s and 80s, there's probably still stuff there.
And it's something about 87, I think it was, 86 or 87.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. All right, moving on. Any questions? Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Ian, of all of these items, how much of this do we do in-house versus out to a contractor? So like the bathroom toilets and fountains, is that an internal resource we're using to do those, or is it's everything on this list outsourced?
Well, I went and did the batting cage with me and Nick, one of the guys. Went there on a Saturday and put it up. So that's one thing that we were able to do. But a lot of this stuff, most of the stuff, when we look at it, is everything was subbed out here.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we're gonna move on. So let's come up with our plan for topics of future meetings. Rachel, I guess we can just do number 1 and number 2 again, I guess? Social
Yeah.
media and tech, unless you want to add something, or you want to wait, where are we, April, May, June?
Yeah, if I do need to reach out sooner about options, am I able to just send an email with information to
Yeah,
everybody
we'll
on
keep
this
number
committee?
1 and 2, and if there's enough time in the next month to put whatever information you have together
Yeah,
for May, then just have Marissa amend the agenda appropriately. And if you don't have time, then we'll have to kick it to June. At that point, though, if we have to, should probably try and get it done in April, because if we have to move anything to the full board, we're gonna want to get it to the full board meeting. No, we still have one in June, right? May,
Yeah, this is
I don't know what we
May,
would,
June.
I would say the May.
would anything need a
It's
vote? I
only 2 weeks away if you take out
don't
April.
think anything
Yeah.
would need a vote.
Rachel's asking to pull it forward though with the information,
Right,
not go
just,
further out. So she's asking,
Right.
can she send an email to you ahead of time?
Yeah, just send it to Marissa if she wants to, yeah.
To get
just
Marissa can amend the
tariff
agenda.
wise, if I have to make moves sooner, I can present whatever information I have potentially sooner. Is that possible?
Yeah, depending on what it is, if we have to move something to the full board, we can always hold a special meeting if you had to.
I don't think there would be anything
No, I think if you did May, I think you'd be in, right in line.
May.
What's your tariff
But what
concern?
if it's just a matter of a different device or, PC versus laptop or whatever, does that need to have a vote, an official vote from the board?
So technically, it's a budgeted line item, so I would say no, correct?
I think the
Yeah.
only thing I would want, I guess, input on is how you would like to proceed with phasing out. I do have some options. I've been in contact with some third-party companies about buyback options, possibly entertain.
Yeah, I
Student
think consult with
buyback
Mr.
options,
Wilson on that, on what the appropriate and, finance as far as what the appropriate method is to do anything of that, because it is
Right.
taxpayer property.
Right, I think that's more of the part that I would like to present to you guys and have a
Okay.
bigger opinion.
Because it'll be for an informational with the plan so that the subcommittee would be understanding of it, but because it would be a line item, the final decision, as long as the subcommittee was on board with the process and the plan, that would be easily done. We wouldn't need a full board.
We don't need anything.
That would be correct.
Okay. So, whatever you want to do,
Okay,
we'll make it happen.
just want to make sure everybody's on board.
Excellent. And for Dean, I guess by next meeting, we'll know whether the roof's going out to bid or not, right? What was the schedule on that? When will we go out to bid? End of this month,
Well,
right?
the date has changed because we're waiting for the approval.
Yeah.
So we don't have that until we get the approval from the state. So once we find that, and that may be something we have to move, well, once the bid goes out. And then I think it was a
2 or
2 week.
3 week response.
Yeah, I think it was a 2 week response. So after that, we want to,
Yeah,
obviously
you probably won't get that.
get a
You won't-
presentation.
Well, we'll keep that on there, just keep
Yeah.
us up to date on that.
Yeah.
Contracts, I think we covered, we don't need to talk about that again, correct? And I guess projects, we'll just
Just keep on rolling.
keep up to date. Is there anything you need to add that you want to talk about here?
High school punch list?
Which one?
High school punch list, maybe? How
We'll
that,
keep that on the building
Yeah.
committee.
Again, a lot of that, most of that, major stuff is happening during the summer. There's a lot of stuff going on during the day that, they're taking care of as needed. Hey, the temperature control, hey, this isn't working, and then they're out there, handling it as is. But the major stuff that you're thinking of, is summertime stuff, they're not gonna go in with the building department.
Anybody have anything that they would like to add or talk about? Now's your time to add it. If not. Yes. All right, comments for the good of the order. Round. Start with Mr.
Sure.
Putnam.
good meeting, guys. Thanks for all the hard work.
Great meeting.
Great job. Thank you.
Excellent, good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
All set, thanks.
Thanks, good job.
My goodness.
Mr. Naldi, you sure? Okay. All right, make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.
Just
We'll look at that.
front of the mouth stuff.
Okay, I'd like to call the ordinance meeting at 6:04 p.m.
Oh, boy.
Roll call.
That scared me.
Give me two plus, you got everything, okay? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, the minutes, the special, want to do them together? No, I wasn't here, one of them. Let's do, the special meetings on the 26th of February and March.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Regular meeting,
So move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't here. Josh, anyone on the public? Okay, discussion, next steps, monthly financials.
Okay. So everybody got a copy of the monthly financials and had time to review them. As I've noted before in these meetings, we are in good standing. We're at 75% through with the fiscal year, and we're 75% through with our budget. So we're in a good place. I didn't know if anybody had any questions regarding the backups,
Particular line item?
line items.
I always have one.
Go for it.
That's okay. So,
Big sigh.
I'm gonna
over
start
there.
laughing again. Just 5130 our overtime wages. How are we? Is that starting to flatten back out again? Everybody in the room knows it's fine. I ask this question towards the end of every year. We've moved up quite a bit in this fiscal year, the custodian overtime, which made sense. We had a lot of stuff going on with the buildings and things, but are we starting to see that settle out? Do you anticipate that continuing its climb? Are we going to be way behind on overtime? I mean, the clerical one's over pretty good already.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to get back to you on that to give you an actual in-depth answer, but to answer you quickly, I'm feeling pretty good about it leveling off, during the next couple months,
Okay.
seeing the trend. But I could get you more specifics.
I'm just looking if we're leveling out, it's going to be okay, or if we're continuing to 200% and. So,
Gotcha.
thank you. Ben.
That's it.
I actually did not have that many questions. That was my one.
Jason, do you have anything?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Wow, anyone else? My one is, legal fees. Only because we've had a lot of expulsions.
Unfortunately.
So, yeah, how are we trending there?
So we're still on the black for legal fees, but we are getting close. I think we had about 210,000 budgeted for that line item, and I think we have like 6,000 left. Anticipating maybe a few more, obviously, because this is as of March, the end of March. But we'll keep a close eye on it and see what we need to do there.
We're okay there because there's still some encumbrances for the legal line items. So
Yeah.
we still are expecting some
Correct.
expenses. So we're not
Yes.
really we're 97 of expected with
Right.
the encumbrances.
Yes, thank you.
Is that all Shipman and Goodman legal fees, or is that just expulsions? Is that everything that we would use them for, policies and,
It's a combo,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
but that's where all of the legal fees go?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And any, if I may, any litigation concerns,
Correct.
FOI
Yes.
requests or other. So
Yes.
it's, well,
All
I
that's
mean, it's
covered. Are
important.
we billed out for all that yet?
Well, I mean, but I'm
Some of those
just,
should be.
correct. So while that was the point, it's encumbered, but
Yeah.
so when we see any influx, though, there's some things that come up, so, but that is for all legal. But you're correct in expulsions, but it's all encompassing is my
Right,
point. I just
right.
wanted to make sure everyone understands,
Yeah.
not putting any one label on it, that's all.
Right. And then anything in the past that would come,
Exactly.
that would
You
also
got it.
impact. That's all I had. We're not going to incur any expenses with the move of Midget Avenue in this budget cycle, correct? It's next to follow. So we're set with that. Okay, cool. All right. Anyone? I'm gonna beat you again.
Oh, wow. She's
I
gonna-
like the competitive.
she's going for
This
a
kind of
regular.
competition I encourage.
I second that, Mr. Kiss. Oh, I'm not allowed, so I apologize. If I could.
Strike that from the
I said if I could.
topics for future meetings, we'll do financials again. And then we'll see what our fair city will
when's that meeting?
give us.
29th. April 29th.
And we'll proceed from there. Comments for the good of the order, John.
None, thank you.
You're all set?
Meeting. Thank you.
Agreed, great meeting. Let's have more like this now. Yes, good meeting.
Good meeting, thank you.
Great meeting, Ellen.
I'm gonna go on the record as we may have shattered the dual meaning record right here tonight. And we're at like 42 minutes. for both
I think you'd
meetings.
be right, Jeff. We'd have to look at the records on that.
I have nothing to add. Nice
You
job.
don't want to prolong the meeting.
No, I'm not gonna prolong anything.
Thank you, everyone, all the hard work done. And hopefully the city will.
So this is the.
help us. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
6:10, all in favor.